In 1981, DJ turned radio entrepreneur Chris Carey had come to Ireland to establish a new style of pirate radio station. His creation, Radio Nova, soon had people noticing its extraordinary on-air signal and unique presentational style.
Nova itself, it had that beautiful sound, gorgeous transmitter sound, nice and warm, friendly.
For people whose experience and maybe image of pirate radio in the past was these small little transmitters with a bunch of amateurs on, suddenly became a viable professional radio station with a beautiful signal.
The first time I heard the signal of Radio Nova on 88 FM back in 1981 was just an incredible experience.
Chris believed that there was an opportunity for that kind of radio station with a very, very high quality signal. I mean, on the technical side, which wouldn't be my area, Nova has, I think even still stands as a kind of a benchmark for quality. Radio Nova.
I remember it being in my bedroom and I had this little radio, and generally it was on to the medium wave or down, I think 539 was Sunshine or somewhere down there, and everyone was saying, no, you got to tune in, you got to go to FM, and it was like, well, it was VHF then, I think you looked for on your radio, VHF, and up to 88 I think it was, and then this sound, and I remember the first record, I remember it was the Doobie Brothers, What a Fool Believes.
11 minutes after 10 o'clock. Friday morning, that's it for Friday. Hugh O'Brien is here after the news at 7 o'clock. Shock, San Francisco Band.
NOVA. And this just came out because I remember Carey telling us later that all this West Coast rock music had been designed specifically for the FM signal. And this song and this sound came out, and it was better than my vinyl player downstairs. I was just blown away.
Nova Gold on a Sunday afternoon.
Key to the Radio Nova formula was the style of presentation known as clutter-free.
Things were really starting to buzz with this big FM signal. The rise of clutter-free as a concept and an on-air phrase.
Clutter-free stereo 88 and 828 AM is Radio Nova, where we play all your favourite songs. It's Radio Nova on a Saturday night with Hugh O'Brien, playing Loverboy, the album Get Lucky, and working for the weekend.
Radio Nova waking up to Friday, John Clark in the morning, the AM drive into work between now and 9. Bailey and Collins and Easy Lover. 6.5 minutes past 8, and this must be one of the best quotes of the week. It comes from a rich oil dude.
A much slicker more music-driven approach, really sounding like a slick station from Los Angeles, which, of course, Los Angeles was the model for just about everything that Chris did.
The music was a central part of Nova's uniqueness too.
Quality music that came out of America that had never been heard in stereo. Eagles, Steve Miller, Doobie Brothers, James Taylor, Jackson Browne. All quality music. It was pop rock, and hearing it for the first time in FM stereo, I just think was an eye-opener to people.
Just as important was the quality and strength of Nova's signal, blasting 5 kilowatts of FM power across Dublin with its studio transmissions now emanating from a purpose-built, state-of-the-art facility on Dublin's Herbert Street.
Incredible equipment, UK broadcast standard equipment. Amazing mixing desk, broadcast mixing desk, turntables that you didn't have to put your finger on to get the record to reverse to cue it up, as we used to have to in those days. You hit a button and the turntable reversed, so that was amazing. And then everything was on cartridges, jingles, commercials, songs, and so on and so forth.
We were working on cart machines. Now, it's the first time I worked on a cart machine, and the song was on a cart, and you put it in, you pressed this big green button, and out came the sound, and it was like something you'd seen in a movie. Like, it was very impressive.
And I just thought, amazing. This is a completely new beginning for pirate radio as it was then in Ireland. But to me, it spelt the beginning of professional broadcasting for the first time, independent professional broadcasting in Ireland.
Within weeks, Nova was establishing itself as the hottest radio thing in town. Even over at Sunshine, the other new kid on the block, the staff was admitting that Nova was something really special.
The reality was that this was a huge threat, and as it transpired, it was the ultimate threat because, as was proven, Nova was a better station in terms of programming, and ultimately all that comes down to is listenership. We can talk about it for hours, but ultimately it's the listener who decides.
We're getting crucified, to be honest. Everybody is listening to Radio Nova.
By late 1981, many Sunshine staff had moved to Herbert Street, unable to resist the lure of the Nova roller coaster. And Nova was attracting talented new DJs and newsreaders, many of whom would go on to become major players in the Irish broadcast industry.
Tom Hardy,
Jason Main,
Ken Hammond, Dave Harvey,
Mike Maloney,
Greg Cochran,
Anne Casson,
And Bob Gallico,
John Clark,
Colm Hayes,
Mike Edgar,
Hugh O'Brien,
it's Brian Dobson,
Sybil Fennell,
Gareth O'Callaghan,
Tony Fenton.
Kerry had also called on a few trusted lieutenants to add weight to a station growing rapidly in size and popularity. Andy Archer, a veteran of Radio Caroline, joined as programme controller.
But when Andy came, he brought commercial disciplines because he worked in commercial radio.
You're listening to Radio Nova, broadcasting from Dublin on 846 AM and 88 stereo. The time is now exactly 3 o'clock and time to join Bob for the latest news. Thank you, Andy.
Having worked in Pirates in the 60s, he was now working and established as a commercial program director. And basically, Chris sublet that responsibility to Andy.
For commercial production, station imaging and sheer creative genius, Kerry turned to Tony Allen.
Tony Allen.
Tony Allen was volatile.
Tony was brilliant during the day. Come the night time, after the few beers, he would start a fight with himself.
Born Anthony John Smith in 1949, Tony Allen was a veteran of numerous offshore broadcasters who had drifted from station to station since the effective end of the English pirate industry in the late 1970s. Tony had become no stranger to Irish pirates, recording commercials and jingles for many. But it was on Nova that he found his true voice.
Down at the Nova boutique. Start up your motor car with a Nova sun visor. Stick it on your windscreen and everyone will know you listen.
He was somebody I very much admired. I admired his dedication to quality, professionalism. But Tony had good times and bad times. Like when he was good, he was great and he was very productive. And then he would go AWOL.
He wasn't very easy to work with. He was very set in his ways. He was a bit of a prima donna, but bloody talented with it. What an amazing voice.
Clutter-free, Nova 88 FM in stereo.
But the volatile and frequently erratic driving force behind the station was Chris Carey.
Chris Carey, Radio Nova.
It's 9:25 on the station that plays all your favourites.
I mean, he could be a very difficult person to work for because he was so demanding. I suppose those of us who were in there, and remember, I mean, I was working there in my very early 20s, so this was a fabulous opportunity, a really unique opportunity to get invaluable experience. So I suppose we put up with a lot of that kind of grief. And I mean, today I suppose it wouldn't be accepted maybe, but we were prepared to put up with it because we were getting this extraordinary opportunity. But he could be very unpredictable.
He didn't see the need to conform to the kind of conventions that sometimes can constrain people. He had an approach that he did things his way. He also, in terms of his dealings with people, was very forceful, I thought. That if he decided something should happen, it would happen then and there.
I thought he was a bollocks, to be perfectly honest about it, because he didn't like me because I worked in RTE, and he didn't understand that I could work in RTE and still have that notion of being one of him, or one of Declan, or John Clark, or Dave Harvey, or Brian Dobson.
Chris's mood swings were legendary.
Chris had an extraordinarily unconventional personal life, I think, to put it simply. So I think this in a way led to the almost schizophrenic type behaviour that we saw from time to time, because Chris could really blow hot and cold.
You don't like a boss who you're afraid of. If he was in the building, I would avoid. And I would, you'd pick up the pieces or you'd surround people who had been fired and all of that. There was a real dark side to all of this.
Thankfully, I didn't really see an awful lot of the other side of Chris Carey. I'd heard a lot about it. I'd heard about the tantrums, I'd heard about the arguments, I'd heard about the rows, I'd heard about accusations that were thrown at people about various things. And the picture that was created about him was one of a guy who could, lose it.
People were fired, they were thrown out, and it was all right for the likes of me, really, who was protected because I was young and, you know, fairly carefree. I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have kids, I didn't have any of that kind of stuff. I didn't have to take any personal abuse because I ducked and dived a bit, and also I was a very small cog in the setup. So, but I don't think he was a very nice person at all. No.